If you were sitting across the desk from me at 50 years old or older, this is the conversation we'd have. First, I'd tell you to stop comparing yourself to people who started investing in their 20s. It doesn't matter if you're behind. It matters what you do from this point forward. Your 50s can actually become one of the most important decades of your financial life. Many people are earning their highest income, the kids may be leaving home, and retirement is finally close enough that every financial decision starts to matter. So instead of dwelling on the past, we'd focus on building the strongest plan possible from today onward. The first thing we'd talk about is entering what many people call the catch-up phase. You probably don't have 40 years left for compound interest to work its magic, so saving becomes even more important. Every raise, every bonus, every tax refund, and every dollar from paying off debt should have a job. If you can increase your retirement contributions by even a few $100s each month, it can make a meaningful difference over the next 10 to 15 years. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is making the years you have left work as hard as possible. Next, we'd review your investments. At 50, I wouldn't suddenly tell you to become ultra-conservative. One of the biggest mistakes people make is moving everything into cash simply because retirement is getting closer. Inflation doesn't stop when you retire, so your money still needs an opportunity to grow. Instead, we'd gradually reduce risk. That might mean holding a little more in high-quality bonds or guaranteed investments than you did in your 40s, while still keeping a meaningful portion invested in diversified stock funds. The exact mix depends on your situation, but the key word is gradual, not drastic. Then we'd talk about debt. If you still have high-interest debt, that becomes one of the top priorities. Credit card balances charging 20% interest are almost impossible to outperform consistently with investing. Paying off those balances gives you a guaranteed return equal to the interest you're no longer paying. Low-interest mortgages are a different conversation. Sometimes paying them off early makes sense. Sometimes investing extra money instead may produce better long-term results. The answer depends on your goals, your comfort level, and the numbers, not emotions. Next comes one of the most overlooked parts of retirement planning, knowing how you'll actually live off your savings. Most people spend years thinking about how to save money, but very little time thinking about how they'll withdraw it. Before retirement, I'd want us to have a withdrawal strategy. Which accounts will you use first? How much can you safely withdraw each year? How will taxes affect those withdrawals? Planning this ahead of time can help your savings last longer and reduce unnecessary taxes. Then we discuss government benefits. In Canada, one of the biggest decisions is when to start taking CPP. Some people benefit from taking it earlier because they need the income or have health concerns. Others may receive significantly larger monthly payments by waiting longer. There isn't one answer that fits everyone. The right decision depends on your health, expected lifespan, other retirement income, tax situation, and personal goals. That's why I'd never recommend choosing an age simply because your friend or neighbor did. We'd look at your complete financial picture first. I'd also remind you not to ignore your emergency fund just because retirement is getting closer. Unexpected expenses don't stop at age 65. Cars break down. Homes need repairs. Medical expenses happen. Having accessible cash means you don't have to sell investments during a market downturn just to cover an emergency. Finally, I'd tell you something many people don't expect to hear. Retirement isn't just about reaching a number. It's about creating a life you actually enjoy. Some people want to travel. Others want to work part-time. Some want to help their grandchildren, volunteer, or start a small business. Your financial plan should support your goals, not someone else's version of retirement. Because here's the truth. At 50 and beyond, you don't need to be perfect. You need to be intentional. Every smart decision you make today can improve the quality of your retirement tomorrow. So if I were your financial advisor, my message would be simple. Save more where you can. Reduce risk thoughtfully, not emotionally. Have a plan for withdrawals before you need them. Understand your CPP options instead of guessing. And remember that it's never too late to make meaningful progress. The best financial plan isn't the most complicated one. It's the one you'll actually stick with.